Hey there, greetings. This is the Bernie Show on STL Sports Central, presented by DraftKings. The crown is yours. My name is Bernie Miklasz, and just to let you know what I'm up to and what I've been doing, all that good stuff. You don't need to know, but if you're new, I figure I should reintroduce myself. My name is Bernie Miklasz, and I've been writing and talking about St. Louis sports since 1989. Here at STL Sports Central, I do 5 videos a week, write 5 columns a week. You can catch me on the Randy Carricker Show here on Friday mornings, usually around 10:30. I'm also a regular on KMOX 104.1 FM and AM 1120. I do 1 or 2 Cardinal Territory videos podcasts with Katie Wu, and I do a weekly Seeing Red podcast on the Cardinals with my friend Will Leach. So please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Please hit the like button and make sure to leave your comments. All comments are welcome, and I appreciate you all very much. Today's topic, it's a good one, I think, and certainly a legit topic. Let me rephrase it. I'm already messing up the question. How long can the Cardinals go with Jordan Walker? I'm sure you've heard by now, but before Wednesday's game, the Cardinals placed Walker on the 10-day injured list because of appendicitis. He had to spend a night in the hospital. Hope he's feeling better. Cardinals tell us that it should be a speedy recovery. I'm sorry to be cynical, but they say that all the time, but hopefully they're right this time. This is the 3rd time this season. Well, since the Cardinals went to spring training, it's the 3rd time he's been sidelined. He missed some time in spring training because of irritation in his left knee. And even though it did not affect his availability for the start of the regular season, I think it was a factor when he missed all those reps in spring training. I think it was a factor in, him getting off to a bad start offensively at the start of the regular season. And it's kind of spiraled ever since then. And then he recently went on the IL earlier. What was this, in late May, I think? You know what it was. He was on the IL with a wrist inflammation. He missed 16 days, and now it's the appendicitis, which obviously is not a baseball related ailment. And again, hopefully he'll get back at it soon, and just hope he feels better. But here's the problem with the injury related ailments or absences. It's limited Walker's opportunity to establish consistency. It's limited his opportunity to improve offensively or generate momentum. He had momentum before the wrist injury, and then he lost it after returning. I'll fill in the blanks on that later in this Bernie Show. But all of these interruptions are definitely detrimental to Walker's progress and really detrimental to everything about him. I mean, even his defense has gotten worse. For example, before going, and here's the one I was going to talk about. Before going to the IL with the wrist deal, Walker was actually starting to hit. It was impressive. I mean, I wrote about it. I talked about it. I was excited about it. It was only 10 games, but you got to start somewhere. And over those 10 games before the wrist injury, Jordan Walker hit 345 and he slugged 578. And he had a couple of homers, a couple of doubles, a triple. He looked fantastic at the plate. So you thought, okay, now he's got something going. Then he goes out because of the wrist. And since returning from that sore wrist, Walker fell apart again. He's posted, since coming back from that, he's posted only 3 hits, all singles, in 18 at-bats, and he has struck out 6 times in those 18 at-bats. So he's sort of back to where he started. Not very good. And I'm being polite. Not very good. So let's return to the question. How long can the Cardinals stay the course with Jordan Walker? It is a good and necessary question. I don't think anyone who asked this question is being overly dramatic or negative or overreacting or being unreasonable. No, you have to ask these questions because I guarantee you, in fact, I know the Cardinals are asking these questions too. The people who make the decisions, they're asking these questions. Now, I am not ready to dismiss Walker as a lost cause. Like, no, he'll never do anything. Get him out of here. I don't believe the Cardinals are anywhere close to reaching that conclusion, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be he's either in Memphis or we're going to trade him or whatever. It doesn't have to be to the extreme. He certainly does not warrant playing every day or most days. He got that courtesy for much of the season, except when the injuries took him out of the lineup. So I don't think he's a lost cause, but that's not a case of me trying to inject some sunny optimism into this thing. I don't. I just think, pragmatically speaking, he's still a young player. And, you don't write him off for good. But I think the reasonable thing to say here is that the organization surely has to reevaluate Jordan Walker's career trajectory and how he fits beyond 2025. And listen, I get it. There's still time this season for him to make his move, right? The regular season, as I record this today before the Cardinals-Cubs game on Thursday, the regular season's half over. So you got 81 games to go. He still will have a chance to some extent of digging in and getting something done to maybe change the perception that he's failing and failing poorly. And there's not a lot of optimism at this point. He can change the perception. He was starting to change it during that great 10-game run before he got injured with the wrist. But if he doesn't improve at all over the 81 games, final 81 games after he gets back, I don't know how the Cardinals can view him, for sure as like, well, hey, he's good to go. He's a franchise fixture. No, he's not even close to that. Walker continues to drift in the wrong direction. And in his third major league season, listen, he's getting worse instead of better. I think reasonable people have been really patient, in part because he did really well as a rookie. All things considered, I thought he did very well. But by now, especially with his a really, really bad 24 season, except he hit really well late in the year, but it obviously didn't carry over to 2025. So by the third major league season, a guy who especially knows what it's like to have success, knows that he can do it at this level because he did it as a 21-year-old rookie in 2023. By this time, man, his career's got to have some traction. It just has to have some traction. I think that's a very, what's the word? That's a very logical assessment to make, right? And then you go back to last winter, the offseason. Jordan Walker made his appearance at the winter warm-up. He met with media, and everybody was saying they'd never seen him so animated, so excited, because he's talking about all the work he had been doing with Brant Brown, the team's new hitting coach. And Walker was clearly fired up and excited by, Brown's philosophy, his messaging, his instruction, correcting some mechanical flaws in his hitting, his stance, his hands, and all that stuff. And Walker was really charged up. He was a happy guy, right? And I took this as a positive sign. It's easy to say now, well, Bernie, you and the media got fooled by that. No, because Jordan Walker, if you remember, as I mentioned earlier, he had started to hit pretty well towards the end of last year. And now he's got this hitting coach for the first time in his career that really had him motivated and really just made him feel like, going to get a guy who can really help me here. And so I don't think there's one soul out there would blame Brant Brown for Jordan Walker falling apart again. That would be a real stretch. Although I know in St. Louis, we like to blame the batting coach and the manager for everything. So I get it. So I was just pointing out, I don't think it's fair to blame Brant Brown because he's had some good success stories so far. Listen, I'm going to share some numbers as we go along. But before I do that, I want to say this. I understand that Walker has elite bat speed. I understand that he has really good exit velocity. I understand that he has a hard hit rate that puts him in the 72nd percentile of all major league hitters. So for those of you who are, really into the Statcast stuff and you think it's very valuable, okay, fine. You can think what you want. I put value on it, but I don't lose my mind over it. Okay. So I don't need any lectures. I don't mean to get salty because I'm actually in a good mood. I don't need any lectures about all that. All the metrics are positive and they've always been positive. And those metrics point to potential and all that. But at some point, you got to get it done in the actual field of competition, okay? Potential's great. Statcast, hard hit rate, and bat speed, all that's great. But if it doesn't lead to positive results, then who cares? I really believe that. And by the way, there's some hitters in Major League Baseball that don't have the elite bat speed, and they don't have this great hard hit rate, and they're doing just fine. You know, I love advanced metrics. I love the new stuff, but I'm not a zealot. Okay. You know, there's other ways to evaluate ball players is all I'm trying to say. So a lot of the people that will defend like a Jordan Walker will do it because they're just ecstatic over the Statcast stuff. I'm sorry. I see a 210 batting average and a terrible slugging percentage and a massive strikeout rate and a guy not getting on base. Am I a bad person? Anyway, as we did witness Walker's talent. And if you ask me like why I would hold out some optimism, it isn't because of Statcast, okay? It's because of Bernie Cast. And what I mean by that is like, I saw this dude. We all saw him in his rookie season. And his rookie season was very good, all things considered. He was only 21 years old at the time. He had never played above AA in the minors. He was still learning everything about Major League pitching. And he put up some really impressive numbers for a young dude who was just kind of thrown into the fire, right? In 2023, Walker opened his rookie season with a 12-game hitting streak. And gosh, people were excited. Me too. The Cardinals, though, as you will remember, they overreacted to a downturn by demoting Walker to AAA after I think the final game he played before they demoted him was like April 23rd. So they sent him to Memphis, even though at the time they sent him down, he was batting .274 and he had a .718 OPS. He was holding his own. Yeah. I mean, you know, maybe too many ground balls, and I know that. But the other thing that made that really curious, you know, here's a guy in the major leagues for the first time. He probably could have benefited from starting the AAA season in 2023, starting it in Memphis. But they rushed him up here. He had a 12-game hitting streak. He cooled off for a while, but here's the weird thing, and I just looked this up to be sure. In the final 3 games before they sent him down to Memphis in late April of his rookie season, Walker went 4 for 10. I mean, you got a guy that you believe in so much that you rush him from AA to the majors. You don't even teach him how to play right field, and he was terrible in right field. And, you know, I've always blamed the organization for that failure because he never taught the guy how to play the position. So, but you had confidence in him. You saw the 12-game hitting streak. You saw some other good things. You even saw him go 4 for 10 in the 3 games before you sent him down. But John Mozeliak in the front office pulled the plug. Go down to Memphis. I mean, Jordan Walker at that point was hardly failing. It's not like he had lost his confidence. It was a very strange and impatient decision by Mo. And while I do understand why they did it at the time, because he was hitting too many ground balls, they saw a guy who was big and strong and had natural power and did hit the ball hard and all that stuff. It's like, well, we got to teach him to elevate, you know, hit some balls in the air, get some more line drives, more fly balls, pull them, and the home run power will be unlocked. And, you know, Walker it took him a while in the minors, but when he came back, he did do better in improving in terms of, you know, leveling out that ground ball rate a little bit. But, you know, let's not get carried away. He's always hit a lot of ground balls. And I don't want to be a phony here. I was not against the move at the time because I thought, well, you know, they give him 2 or 3 weeks down there and he's going to do a better job of just like, you know, taking advantage of how hard he hits the ball, but hitting it in places other than the infield, right? I thought that it was worth trying. But looking back on it now, because hindsight gives you more wisdom, maybe this was kind of an omen of what was to come with the Cardinals and Jordan Walker. Up and down, up and down, up and down. Don't know what to do. Guy goes 4 to 10. Oh, got to get him down in the minors. Then we've seen periods where he's just utterly helpless and hopeless at the plate much of this year. And they've stayed the course with him. I mean, I'll be curious to see what happens when and if Walker ends up with another organization. I'll leave it at that. Okay, now, Even though he got sent down to the minors, Walker finished his rookie season batting .276. He had a .342 on base percentage. He slugged .455. He banged 16 homers. His OPS plus was 13% above the league average offensively. And I'll repeat what I said. That's a really good season for a 21-year-old player who jumped here to the majors from Double-A. And I want to say this as well. I would like nothing more to see Jordan Walker get on track and turn into the hitter that we think he can be, the hitter that we saw a lot of in 2023. And we know that he can because we did see it in 2023. We know what he's capable of. But, you just get the idea that the dude's head is always spinning. And how many different hitting coaches has he had, right? And the one he has now is a good one. But, he's not going to be able to fix things overnight. Although Brant Brown rebuilt Nolan Gorman's entire plate approach. And even though probably 75% of the fans were ready to get rid of Gorman, I said, listen, he's not chasing as much. He's not swinging and missing as much. He's walking more. The results, I think, are going to come, and the results are coming. But with Walker, he really hasn't improved his plate discipline. It's gotten worse. He's not, other than hitting the ball hard, which will get the Statcast people, running through the streets with joy or whatever. Other than hitting the ball hard, there's just nothing there to get you excited, because you know what? You can hit the ball as hard as possibly could be, right? Your bat speed can be amazing. But if you can't connect with pitches and you keep chasing junk out of the strike zone, what difference does it make? What you hit, miles per hour, exit velocity, what difference does it make if you're not putting the bat on the pitch, right? Walker's plate discipline is just absolutely horrendous. And on a side note, I don't like saying this because I was really happy with the way he was playing defense earlier in the season, but his defense in right field is deteriorating again, and that's after that positive start out there. John Jay helped him a lot. And that's what I don't understand. Brant Brown has definitely gave Walker some stuff that should make him better. We know John Jay made him better in the outfield. So why does he continue to take step backs over and, step back? That's what I said. I'm sorry. I had too much coffee. Why does he keep relapsing over and over and over again, even when he's made progress and even when he's got good coaches working with him, right? But my focus today will be on his performance offensively, because that's why he was drafted in the first round back in 2020. I'll dive into the details about his deterioration at the plate after I encourage you to try the DraftKings Pick Six fantasy game. DraftKings covers a lot of sports. You can dive into pretty much any sport that you like. You can go to their app and find out everything that they have there. But we're in a baseball town, and if you think you know your ball, well, it's time to put your knowledge to use. Get that brain working and win some big cash prizes through the daily Pick Six contest. In DraftKings Pick Six, you just focus on player stats. You select anywhere from 2 to 6 players. You choose whether the individual player will go higher or lower on a specific stat set for his next game by DraftKings. A hypothetical is Andre Palante against the Cubs Thursday. And by the time you see this, the game's probably over or in progress. But I'm just giving an example of the line. DraftKings has set a line of 4.5 strikeouts for Palante against the Cubs. Well, if you think he'll get 5 strikeouts, you go over that line. If you think that it'll be 4 strikeouts, which is under 4.5, well, you go with the under. It really is that simple. And it's fun. I have enjoyed playing it. I've started out slowly because I want to just get a really good feel for it, but that's part of the fun, the process of learning how to play and learning what to look for. And I think that's really a part of the benefit. I mean, because I find myself, even though I'm a stat guy, I find myself looking at some things I hadn't thought about too much, right? So here's an invitation to you to get in the game and take your best shot at winning money. Pick Six available in most states, including Missouri, California, Georgia, Texas, and so many more. You're going to enjoy watching your players that you selected. You're going to be rooting for them while the game's in progress. And you know what? You'll be even happier if they come through for you and you win at DraftKings. It's easy to get started. As I mentioned, download the DraftKings app, which is outstanding, and just open an account. Then you choose your sport, you pick your players, and it's go time. New players at DraftKings get $50 in pick six credits instantly with just a $5 entry. You download the DraftKings Pick Six app now. You use the code STL Sports. That's the code STL Sports for new customers to play $5 and get $50 in Pick Six credits. Better payouts, bigger wins, only with Pick Six from DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 and over. Age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick Six not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited. One per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick Six credits that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. See terms at picksix.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, let's get back to Jordan Walker's frustrating collapse so far in 2025, the first half collapse. And I'll give you some numbers because I think it's important to give you some numbers that reveal the extent of his problems. Walker's batting .210, terrible. His on-base percentage is .276, terrible. His slugging percentage is .295. That's worse than terrible. Among 227, listen to this one now, among 227 big league hitters that have had at least 190 plate appearances this season, Walker has a .562 OPS. That's the seventh worst OPS among 20. That's the seventh worst OPS among 227 hitters. You got to part of my notes disappeared there for a second. So I blinked, but I recovered. So he's got the seventh worst OPS this season among 227 hitters that had 190 plate appearances. Sorry for the delay in getting that out. And that .562 OPS is a long way down from his .787 OPS as a rookie. In OPS plus, which adjusts for league and ballpark effects, he was 13% above average as a rookie. He dropped to 13% above league average offensively as a rookie. He dropped 29% below average in his second season. And as we sit here today, Jordan Walker is 43% below the league average offensively in 2025. Plus 13, minus 29, minus 43. I don't have to tell you which way the arrow's pointing, do I? So far in 2025, Walker's also suffering career worst marks in a lot of categories. Strikeout rate, on-base percentage, slugging, OPS, home run percentage, isolated power, on and on and on. Most glaring at all, because it prevents him from even having a chance to be a good hitter, is the plate discipline stuff. And it's primarily the swing and miss stuff and just not making contact. His strikeout rate was 22% as a rookie. It jumped to 28% last year. And this season, it's 33.3%. Arrow down. Whiff swing rate. That's basically when you take a swing, it doesn't include foul balls. When you take a swing and you just miss, right? 30% as a rookie, a little higher than that last season. And this season, 37%. That is way too much, right? The arrow pointing down. This season, he is chasing pitches out of the strike zone at a career worst rate of 33.5%. Arrow down. Walker's contract rate, when he swings at strikes, when he doesn't chase, right? When he doesn't chase and he swings at pitches in the strike zone, his contact rate on strikes is a career worst 78%. Arrow down. His performance so far against fastballs is better than what we saw in 2024. It's better, and that's positive. So I want to acknowledge, some progress. But those numbers against the fastball aren't outstanding or anything, just better than last season. Now, I know some people get all, worked up because his expected slugging percentage is higher than his actual slugging percentage. But once again, and I'm a Statcast guy, I like the expected stuff, but you know what? I like the actual stuff better, right? I don't think anybody ever won a game by going to the umpire and said, well, the kid's struggling, but he's got an expected slugging percentage of 444. Do we get a run credit? Do we get credited with a couple runs for that? Umpire would look at you like, dude, you better go see a doc. You better get your head checked out. What are you talking about? we get into actual stats, whether he gets a hits and run. We don't pay attention to expected stuff. Expected that. I'm sorry, I just had to go on that tirade because that drives me crazy when people point that out all the time. It just drives me nuts. Expected this, expected that. I like the stuff that literally does happen in the competition. All right, listen to these figures. Sorry for the tirade. Listen to these figures. Against off-speed pitches this year, Walker's got a whiff swing rate of 52% and a strikeout rate of 42%. See, I'm slowing down so you can more easily take in the info. Against off-speed pitches, whiff swing 52%, strikeout rate 42%. Against breaking balls, a whiff swing rate of 48% and a strikeout rate of 35%. Basically, this tells us an obvious thing. Jordan Walker is a ridiculously easy target for pitchers who can spin the ball, fool him with the off-speed stuff, and attack him, as you all know, by pitching low and away, low and away, low and away, and getting the big man to lunge at those pitches a lot. Now, these stats are kind of tabulated in terms of stats. Well, yeah, obviously, because they are stats. Like when I tell you, for example, this year when Walker is 0 for 13 on low and away pitches, see, that even doesn't reveal the extent of the problem, because that 0 for 13 is only based on how the at-bat ended. It doesn't account for what happened before the end of the at-bat. But I gave you the whiff swing rates and the strikeout rates on all of these pitches, right, as a whole, with breaking balls and breaking balls and off-speed stuff. So and his contact rate on those pitches is awful, just simply awful. And I think I got these numbers, and I'll get them to you here. I think I already mentioned that. In fact, I think I may have left a couple out. I don't know why I'm so disorganized. Usually I'm very organized. So in at-bats that end with the low and away pitch this season, Walker is 0 for 13 with 10 strikeouts. 0 for 13 with 10 strikeouts. And here's the thing I was looking for. And his whiff swing rate on those low and away pitches, and this includes the stuff that happens before the at-bat ends on one pitch, his overall whiff swing rate on low and away is 80% on breaking balls, and it's 70% swing and miss on the off-speed stuff. Now, the two things that he's most vulnerable are off-speed pitches and breaking pitches. And if the pitchers are getting him to swing and miss, I balance the two out, off-speed and breaking balls. If they're getting him to swing and miss 75% of the time, it's a disaster. Even on fastballs this season, Walker has struck out 30% of the time. So I don't want to hear Statcast. This guy can't get the ball. He can't get the bat on the ball, not even on strikes. And there's way too much swing and miss on everything, right? So, and I'm sorry I stumbled through that a little bit, but I was trying to make sure I was clear in what I was trying to say. All right. Thank you for being patient. What are the options? Number one, manager Ali Marmol can reduce Walker's playing time. Well, that's already happened. That has definitely already happened, because before the appendicitis put him in the hospital for a night, Walker had only started 5 of the previous 12 games. With Alec Burleson having such a great season, Marmol can't afford to sit Burley to force Walker in the lineup. No way. Sure, Burleson can also be used at first base. He can be used in left field. He can DH, and his defense has improved in the outfield, and it was always a little bit above average at first base. But it's not that easy. You say, well, that's all right. You just move Burley to DH, blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, where's Nolan Gorman going to play? Nolan Gorman's crushing it over the last month, and the DH spot's excellent for him. Here's another problem for Walker. As a right-handed hitter, you would think he'd be doing some damage against lefty pitchers. You say, well, I bet his numbers are terrible against right-handed pitchers, but he's probably getting something done against lefties. No, he's not. That's not the case at all. This season, Walker's batting .203 with a .513 OPS against lefties And against left-handed pitchers, he has struck out 37% of the time, more than he does against right-handed pitchers. And the other thing is Burley, as you know, is hitting lefties now. And Gorman has made progress. His at-bats against lefties aren't always great, obviously, but he's been more competitive. I hearken back to that big 3-run homer he hit off a lefty when the Cardinals won their only game in that 4-game set up at Milwaukee recently. See, Walker does not give the Cardinals a platoon split advantage. So you can't, if you're a manager, you can't fill up your lineup card by saying, well, the one thing about Walker, they got a lefty on the mound, and he does a good job against lefty pitchers. That's simply not true, as Ollie knows, and that's why he hasn't been playing them. And so when you have a guy who's awful against right-handed pitchers and he's awful against left-handed pitchers, where do you go from there? Where do you go from there? And by not playing Walker, Marmol also can get some more at-bats for rookie right-handed hitter Thomas Saggese, at least until Ivan Herrera comes up. And so where do you go? See, I think at some point we talk about runway, and Walker and Gorman were highlighted as the 2 runway players. We got to give them every opportunity. Okay. Then, by the way, they didn't say every opportunity. They meant, fuller opportunities. Just let them play. Well, that ended for Gorman once they couldn't trade Nolan Arenado, and I don't blame the Cardinals for that. And to me, it's now cut into Jordan Walker's runway as well, because at some point you got a team that's doing better than people thought, a lot better than people thought. You got a team that's in the hunt for a playoff spot. You got a lot of guys going well. You got a team that's got great energy, great attitude, great perseverance, great resilience, all that stuff. And at some point, and your fans are starting to get excited, at some point, you got to try to win games. And that doesn't mean you sell out the future. But if you have a young runway player and he keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, this runway was never set up to be indefinite, okay? It's got a limit, and I think the Cardinals are just about there. The bottom line, I just don't see any significant playing time, deserved playing time for a hitter that's 42% below the league average offensively. He can't hit lefties. He can't hit righties. He swings and misses at alarming numbers. He strikes out at alarming numbers. And he also plays below average defense now after a good start to the season. That player, of course, is Jordan Walker. And there's going to be even fewer opportunities for Walker when Ivan Herrera returns from the IL after rehabbing his strained hamstring. We don't know the timetable on that. The Cardinals are going to determine that. But just throw it out there. Maybe Herrera's returns after the All-Star break. I don't know. But when he does return, that's even going to make it less likely that Walker is in the mix. So number 2, you can send Walker back to Memphis to regroup. The Cardinals have done this several times, but it doesn't always work, though it did late in the 2024 season. He finished pretty well. Not this whole season, but late. He had a good final month. But even after benefiting from some time in the minors, Walker relapsed again at the start of this year. There's a pattern of relapsing every time he does show some improvement, whether it's in Memphis or St. Louis. He always relapses, and it's usually a really hard crash. But still, a return to Memphis this season, sooner or later, probably sooner, unless he gets something going when he gets back. That looms as the most predictable option. Number 3, you include Walker in a trade package at this year's deadline. I see people throwing that around. But they leave out some details. Okay, what trade package? Who are the Cardinals getting? Who's the talent coming this way? Are they going to be part of the team's future in 26 and 27? What else do the Cardinals have to give up? What are teams going to give you to have Jordan Walker in the in the trade package? I mean, any genius can write a blog or something. They need to try to include him in a trade package. For who? For what? What's coming back this way? Anyway, and what also the other thing, what is Walker's trade value? I'd say it's pretty damn low right now. However, other teams will definitely see him as a turnaround project, and they can get him for a low trade price. I know this too. I don't want John Mozeliak to be a part of any trade for Jordan Walker before he leaves as the president of baseball operation. I don't trust his judgment. But you know what I just said here? Well, he may have better trade value than we think simply because other teams, smart front offices, have noticed the repeated failures of young Cardinals hitters, and some of those guys have gone on to do much better elsewhere, right? So that's why if he is going to be traded, Mr. Walker is going to be traded. If he's going to be traded, you got to ride it out until the end of the season, because then you can let the new president of baseball operations, Chaim Bloom, decide what to do and what's a good price. And who knows? I don't know how Bloom feels about Walker. We won't know until he takes over. But at least in the offseason, I think you have more options. And Walker may entice more interest from teams that think, well, hey, we've looked at the tape, we can turn him around. But unless we can read Chaim Bloom's mind, and we can't, right? There's no way of predicting what Bloom would do with Jordan, and he doesn't have to do it yet. It's got to be an off-season call, and that will be his call. And it could be, needless to say, a very important decision to the Cardinals' future. That's going to do it for today on the Bernie Show. I'm sorry that my notes got scrambled and I had to hesitate there three times. I is what I is, people, right? I is what I is. Anyway, thanks for watching as always, and we appreciate you very much. And also thank you very, very much to DraftKings for presenting the Bernie Show here on STL Sports Central. Thank you very much.